The Cable Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has for long been clamoring for expedited action from the Standards Organization of Nigeria over several infractions in the cable manufacturing industry. Key among the industry concerns being raised include discrepancies in certification of cable sizes, presence of substandard cables in the market, and provision for approved third-party certification of cable by SON. What sounds like a greater concern at this point, however, seems to be the diminishing role of women in the industry space. Bukola Adubi is president of Cable Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, and she joins us now to have a quick conversation. It's good to have you, Bukola.
It's good to be here. Thanks
All right, so
for having me.
the SON narratives, what are your thoughts there?
You know, it's gotten better, to be honest. Since the last time I was here, it's gotten so much better. We are having a lot of dialogue with the DG, you know, with the management of SON. They are taking more concern about our cases. You know, I've been to a few of their destruction of fake cables, because apparently what SON does is they impound these cables and they destroy them and they make it public. And they invite us to come visit and see what they're doing with the fake cables, you know. So it's good that we see traction. It's good that we see that they're doing something about it. It's good that we hear conversation going on about these things. You know, in the past, it's just been one of those things, you know, you just say it and you keep repeating the same thing over and over again. But now, we are getting traction. And I know that with the way the new DG, well, it's not so new anymore, you know, but he's hands-on. And that's a big deal. That's all we ask, right? That's all we ask. So the attention at the ports is giving that a lot of attention. I've had a few imports in, you know, like raw materials and stuff, and I see the SON part of the process. I see what they're doing. I see that this is different, this is new, you know, so I am seeing things happen. That is all we are asking. Let's see these things through to the end, and then Nigeria will be better off for it. You know,
I'm delighted to hear that, you know, you're making significant progress compared to the last time you were here. But where is there still huge room for improvement?
You know, when I speak to a lot of our members, right, there are maybe 2 or 3 major issues that affect us all, you know, as a group. First thing is power. And this is where I'm happy that we have this change in government. Now, I really am not particular about who won or who didn't win, you know. I'm just like, you know, this is a fresh slate. This is a clean slate. This is us now bringing our issues to the forefront. And people are going to look at it with different eyes, with new perspectives, right? So there's the power issue. That is out of the picture. We are doing maybe 50% okay. And then we have raw materials. A lot of our raw materials are still sourced out of the country, unfortunately. And then that kind of pallies with Forex issues, because a lot of us are having to fund in the black market. That makes us crazy expensive. So you hear the narrative, Nigerian cable is the best cable ever, but they are so expensive. So there is that balance we need to, you know, try to match. And this is where the so-called fake importers are taking advantage of. So they're using the name because people know that all you have to have is a Nigerian cable out of these known ones, and then they do whatever bad stuff they do to it. They shot on the copper, they shot on the PVC, they shot on the standards, and then they make it cheaper. Then it looks like a cheaper alternative to the good stuff, but then it's bad stuff. You know, so it's really bad. So between all of those issues, if we start to get traction there as well, you know, sometime earlier this year, I had cause to have a conversation with a couple of ministries in the meeting. So I had Ministry of Finance, I had the Ministry of Trade and Investments, and, you know, we had this meeting together. And I could also see their interest. Like, we want to help you. We want to get involved. What do you need? what you want from us, you know. Unfortunately, the whole political setbacks and that slowed us down a bit, but everybody's settled now. So I'm loving the idea that people, they want to listen. They want to hear what the problem is. They want to know how can we help.
If I may come in, Bukola,
Yes.
at this stage, interesting you mentioned the word raw materials. What would it take to change that narrative, to have things being done here? You know, have the raw materials, you know, make things a little bit cheaper.
Okay, so for the bulk of our materials, of course, the major of it is copper. Copper, we would need to obviously have a copper mine close by, which the country clearly does not have at this point. We had a meeting not so recent now, with the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria and their research units. And they were trying to see if there were any sites in Nigeria that could have viable copper, you know, to make as mines or whatever, but that's not so great. The other option is to bring in the cathodes, you know, like they're already mined. You know, the maybe closest mine to us is in Zambia or South Africa, right? You know, so to bring the cathodes in and then process them in-house. But then you still have the issue of that is still coming in as some semblance of raw material. So the point where these materials come in, maybe zero duty or something, it helps the industry to have something else to focus on. Right? It reduces your cost of establishing, you know, because this is good for us. This is some semblance of backward integration. It helps the system. It helps us to know that there is a source local. There are a few sources locally, but to the percentage of purity that we need the copper to be, we're so short. So there is that. There is aluminium. We have some bauxite sites in Nigeria, right? I was speaking to someone recently, and I was like, we used to have Alscon. That kind of died a natural death at some point. You know, if that was revived, for example, that would be something to look at for aluminium cables, because we do have bauxite sites in Nigeria, right? So these are things that we need to look at. It helps us, it helps the country, because then we can maximize what we use, what we can, reduce our costs, have more production capacity, have more employment, have more reserves, have more foreign exchange coming in, have potential for export. You know, a lot of us in combination, we can actually have export potential, because we have the capacity between, you know, we are currently efficiently 12 members in the association. Between all of us, we have the capacity to go to Benin, to go to Togo, to go to Ghana, to go to Cote d'Ivoire, you know, just along the West Coast. Let's even start there. And then with the African Free Trade, Continental Trade Faction, we could push further into Africa. But we do need to start from home. As they say, charity begins at home.
Well said. Very well said. But what about the concerns that we now understand about the diminishing role of women in the industry? What's happening with that?
In the cable industry?
Yes.
You know, for the longest time, it was me. Right? It was me in the midst of a lot of men. And then about 2-3 years ago, I've got another female CEO. I'm like, yes, you know, so when we sit in the meetings, at least I know we're two of us, you know. So it used to be, Madame is the, you know, and Madame Swala is very plenty, you know. You do have that extra bit to prove. It's a man's world. You know, it's a technical, you know, industry. It's an engineering industry. And for some reason, it's been labeled male. Right? I am doing a lot in-house, at least with MyCom, you know, to try and get girl engineers, lady engineers, come in, get your hands dirty. But then for some reason as well, everybody wants the cushy jobs, everybody wants the, you know, we just want to earn the big monies, you know, but engineering is very hands-on. It's very technical. You need to get your hands dirty. You know, I've had, you know, again, this is probably easier for me to say because I was literally born into this, right? So I grew up knowing the system, knowing what to do. But it helps when we encourage women. And I try to do that a lot. So I've got this graduate training thing going on. I like to get the girls in, they're a priority for me. So, if there's a girl that makes the cut, she would be the first one to get hired, that kind of thing, just to get them to understand. This doesn't have to always be a man's world. We can do just as good, better sometimes.
What has been the response from the female folk in regard to, your efforts?
Honestly, it's still a bit of a, and then would I say the Gen Z population these days, they're not so keen on the work. And, you see the details of the work that you need to do, and everybody just kind of steps back and says, maybe not, And for me, that is the extra problem. Like, why not? This thing is fun. And it's like, it might be fun for you, but, we would rather, the cushier.
Yeah.
But I will continue my narrative, I will keep at it, because I can't be a lone ranger in this.
That's what I was about to say. You said, I will continue my narrative.
Yeah.
You might need some collaborative efforts to make this fruitful.
Yeah.
Are you considering that? Are you taking steps towards that?
I am, because I know the NCDMB, for example, the Nigerian Content Monitoring Board. They've got this women arm that would always do a lot of how would I put it now, collaborative efforts with the women in the industry. Now, industry, oil and gas, right? By virtue of my relationship with the oil and gas, I've had to meet a few of these ladies, and they are very happy to take on be mentors to younger ladies, to tell them that, we are also in this technical industry, men's industry, and we're doing well. So they have that platform that I am also trying to get myself set up under, get them to then use their platform to push my narrative. So that way, I get the best of both worlds.
Do you think to a large extent, maybe this orientation from the female folk that, okay, fine, technical issues are not for you, and you can just go for something more cushy, as you mentioned, could to a large extent also be responsible for all of this? And where does education itself from the tertiary institutions also come in, to help out?
Go there.
Yeah. To not let me go there. Even, like I said, I started this graduate training thing, and what I found, which is also very sad, is that these guys come through, say, first class, 2-1, and you ask them the simplest things, engineering basics, and they're completely lost. And then I'm like, what's happening there, Yeah. So that is a big issue in itself. What are we learning in the schools? What are they teaching them?
So there's a dichotomy between practicalizing what you actually learned from the technical schools and those who are just, okay, fine, theoreticals and stuff like that. So that's also...
I am more inclined sometimes to go with the technical colleges, the vocational schools, because they are at least, they know, what's up. But in the universities, it is really worrying. Honestly, my engineers will come and tell me that, I don't know, we've had, the simplest of things, and they're lost. And I'm like, this is the more reason why we should get involved. So they know the theory, but they cannot relate it with what they see. So it's like we're just cramming all of these textbooks, but we've never seen it before. So I see the real thing, then I'm lost. So there's a problem, there's a big disconnect. And this is where I'm thinking, it's the least I could do, offer, and I've said the same to my fellow colleagues in the industry, any opportunity you have, we need to have, if we have to come together and make a training school available to make this work, we need to do that as together, because it's really a big problem. And it's very worrisome. Honestly, I don't even want to go into that. It is actually quite worrisome. So that is maybe something else that, this, like I said, blank slate, clean slate. We need to look at the schools, what they're churning out, what they're doing there. We do need, because it's really something to, it's a big worry for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that could also be a problem with obviously the ladies and the girls and not wanting to. But I know there's a lot of STEM programs out there, but we'll do the best we can. We'll bring more people into the fold.
You're definitely doing maybe not your best just yet, but you're definitely making your mark. And we
walk
wish
in the right direction.
We definitely wish you well. I hope the next time we have you, you have more great
Yeah,
news for us.
I'm sure.
But it's been a pleasure as always. CEO of MyCom Cables and President of Cable Manufacturers Association, CAM, and Mrs. Bukola Adubi. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsday. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.